Let's talk Tanya for the 8th of Iyar. Yesterday we spoke about evoking mercy on our souls and on God. Where are we getting to? The larger topic of conversation over here is about trying to get to a place of love for God. What's the connection? The answer is that when we're feeling blocked and when we're unable to experience an emotional connection to God, unable to experience love for God, sometimes instead of us trying to do the work ourselves, and if we feel it's too difficult for us, there's a shortcut. And what is the shortcut? We turn to God and say, God, have mercy. And because God has mercy, so He can give us the gift of love for Him, even if we're not holding at that level, even if it's not a product of our own service. The thing is that in order for us to turn to God and say, God, please have mercy on our souls, we need to feel it first. If I feel the compassion on my soul, then I can turn to God and say, God, I'm a Rahmanis case. I need your Rahmanis. I need your mercy. I need your compassion. Please give it to me. And then God gives it to you. So as it turns out over here, the compassion is the key to unlocking the love for God. As we mentioned yesterday, we have the three Avos, the three forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And Avraham represents love, and Yitzchak represents awe of God. Yaakov represents compassion. And therefore, this idea that we're talking about over here, that our compassion can unlock the love, we find a verse in the Torah which alludes to this. And what is that? When Yaakov meets Rachel for the first time, so the pasuk says, Vayishak Yaakov leRachel, Yaakov kisses Rachel, Vayisa es koiloi, and Yaakov lifts up his voice, Vayefk, and he cries. What is the deeper meaning of this pasuk? Yaakov, as we mentioned, is the attribute of mercy. Rachel represents Klal Yisrael. Rachel is our mother, and she represents the collective Jewish nation. Yaakov kisses Rachel means Yaakov gives to Rachel the kiss. Yaakov, the attribute of compassion, is giving the Jewish people the ability to have a relationship, a loving relationship with God, the ability to be able to kiss God, love God through loving God and through Torah and through mitzvahs. And how does Yaakov accomplish that? Through Vayisa es koilei vayefk, through Yaakov lifting up his voice and crying, through evoking God's compassion on the Jewish people. By evoking God's compassion upon the Jewish people, we open up the ability to kiss God, to be able to have that loving relationship with God. Now, if you recall, we've spoken that as we go through Tanya, we talk about the different levels of love. They become more and more accessible. We started with the highest level of love, Ava Rabbah, which is a gift from God to the very holy, righteous people. Then we spoke about Avas Olam, contemplating God's greatness and thereby arriving at love, which is a lower level. Then we spoke about in the last chapter about the two levels of hybrid love, which are even more accessible because they're tapping into our natural love that we have for our life and for our Father. But the love that we've spoken about in this chapter is more accessible than anything beforehand. And why is that? All the levels of love that we've spoken about beforehand, the person has to be at a level where they are holding at that love. I am a spiritual person, so I can feel that love. In this chapter, you don't have to be spiritual enough to feel that love. Why? Because God is having mercy on you. If you can evoke mercy on your soul, God will have mercy on you and give you the gift of allowing to feel that relationship with Him, feeling that love with Him. And that's why this is a level of love which is even more accessible than the loves that we've spoken about beforehand. With this, we've concluded this level of love. Tomorrow, we start chapter 46. And in chapter 46, we'll be talking about the most accessible level of love of all.